Welcome to Trash Talk, a podcast by Zero Waste Canada. I'm your host, Alistair McCallum. I moved to Canada in 2017 from England, and I've since held a variety of roles in the waste industry, and currently sit on the Zero Waste Canada board. On this podcast, we will dive deep into the world of zero waste and the circular economy, speaking with change makers who are helping to lead us to a more waste-free, sustainable planet. All right, Trash Talk is back with our first guest of 2026. It's Brian Dolan. Welcome to the podcast, Brian.
Thank you. I was hitting the button to say I was okay with being recorded, so it's important for this, right?
Yeah, good start. Yeah, no, thanks for being here. So tell us your kind of background in waste, where it all started for you, and then what led to DSQ.
So my brother and I we started a company with a third guy in 2011. That was Sequoia Waste Solutions. That we ended up selling to Quest in 2022. But in the process of running that for those years, we first started working on Salesforce and using interns, and we realized that the technology piece of the waste brokerage space was mediocre at best and mostly non-existent. And so we started building technology, and we did it wrong at first, had to redo it. And when we did it right, that turned into what became Discovery and Pioneer. And so we ran into the classic challenge of when you are in a business and building software for a business, you have to pick a path, right? And so we had enough prospective customers telling us, hey, we'd like to use your software, but you can't be a competitor to us. We're, okay, so we sold that. And so now as a software provider, it's a great space to sit because the world is eternally moving towards software, it feels like. So that's how we got here today. We added another software at one point called Hauler software that is a really lightweight but very effective for roll-off operators. And so it's a nice little flywheel of things around the waste industry that we can see go by and learn a lot about, okay, how does a hauler see something? How does a broker see something? How does a manager see something? How does a property manager see something? Okay. And so it informs a lot of our utility and the operational aspect of what we build.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so you mentioned your software pieces there. So could you give us some more information on the impacts they're having? So Discovery and Pioneer in particular.
I'll give you the best way to do that sort of is stories.
Yep.
So a guy called the other day and he's like, look, for Discovery, for the waste brokerage automation software, he said, I looked at some other things I think might be aligned with being competitive. He said, but ultimately, probably going to choose yours because when I needed to find a piece of information and be able to answer somebody, in the other softwares I had to drill down 3 menus. In yours, it was all packaged up in a way that I could see it quickly, right? And so like that level of years of development and looking at it from the customer seat has led to those sort of outcomes, which you've used software, you've used software, everybody else has too. You sort of know it, right? Like if it works the way I need it to quickly and easily, or it doesn't, right? So that's sort of the way that works. I mean, there's lots of metrics we have, but that I think carries the day for a lot of people when they think about stuff. And I can tell you a funny story about Pioneer if you want.
Yeah.
A property management company called and said, hey, we had a really big problem over the weekend. Okay, great. The trash pile, send me a picture, trash pile is taller than a human in front of the compactor. And I'm like, great, what's up? Like, well, we don't think it was a problem with anything with Pioneer. We think it was a problem with maybe the valet company, maybe with the waste hauler. Okay. Well, like, you seem like this is a bigger problem. They said, well, what happened was that we had a tenant moving in and they freaked out about the trash pile and emailed the CEO of the company, and the CEO read the email. And so then you could imagine the fire that was created from that. And so we need you to prove that, what went on. And so what was nice was that software Pioneer knew when the hauler had been contacted to be hauling the compactor, and it knew when the compactor had run or not run, and it knew how full the compactor was at every stage of time. So we were able to piece together a story from Monday prior through Sunday that said, the hauler was supposed to be there on Monday, didn't come. We were supposed to be there on Wednesday, didn't come. And the compactor got ran at certain times. So clearly it wasn't full, and the data showed it wasn't. So, there was a nice data story to back up what everybody sort of intuited and sort of thought they knew, but now there was independent verifiable data points to go, hey, we know.
Yeah.
So those are two stories to me that are part of the equation of like, well, what are you really producing? What do these things do? That's what it is.
Yeah, great to hear. Like I've been there with like similar things in the past with compactors. Like I've cleaned up messes and I've climbed into them to fix things when I shouldn't have probably. But anyway,
Yeah, right.
it's
Don't tell the boss.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's visual. So if there's systems that can be put in place to help like solve the issue before it even happens, that's a huge thing for the industry to
It's that, and it's being able to provide a quick answer.
yeah,
Because like an example, compactors at properties, whether they're retail or multifamily or office, where there's multiple people using the compactor.
yeah,
If you, Alistair, walk up there and drop your bag and you're just lazy, you just drop your bag in front of it. Well, I might be kind of lazy too. And I walk up behind it and go, oh, it must be broken. I dropped my bag too. Now
yeah,
there's 2 bags. If 3 more people do that, there's 5 bags. The 6th through 50th person, they're dropping their bags too. Meanwhile, it's just because I was lazy, right?
yeah.
So we're developing a new tagline that we're playing around with that you might see come out that it plays on that lazy theme.
Yeah, things cascade very quickly in waste. Yeah, you're right. Like people kind of copy behaviors very quickly, and it gets
Humans are
messy
lazy.
quickly. Yeah. So what's next for DSQ in terms of this year? What's your kind of plans for growth, and what's your aims for, getting more engagement and take up of your kind of tech offerings?
So what's next for us is really focused on. I subscribe to like the Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A theory of like just get better. Your customers will make you get bigger. We keep working on making things better, and
Yeah.
it's little things like we'll redesign a screen, right? And that sounds like, well, that's dumb, but like ultimately, if the screen works and is intuitive the way you want it to be, and you can find the information faster, you're able to be more effective, right? So that's really where a lot of our energy goes. We're always adding new features to what we do because customers ask us to. And so I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like one we're working on coming up is, and it might be out by the time this publishes, is a certain way that toilets need to be handled in our software, because certain people do things with toilets this way, other people do things, and so we needed to get some customer input, and then we're adjusting that to meet the customer demand. And so as we look at the world around us, I think there's an interesting thing where waste brokers are becoming waste haulers. Waste haulers are becoming waste brokers. Property management companies or individual, like think of them as like, I use 7-Eleven as an example because everybody understands it, right? There's companies like 7-Eleven that not that they are, but like companies like 7-Eleven that are going, well, maybe we should manage some of this data internally, right? Maybe we should, and so this thing is always shifting and morphing and depending on who's in charge. And so what we're trying to be positioned is to meet the demand of the market in ways that serve the multiple ways in which the market's asking for this, right?
Yeah.
So it's challenging for us because sometimes people get in the mindset that, well, this should only be in this lane. And that's not how the real world works, right? The same data, I mean, you've got experience working for individual locations as well as big networks of locations, right?
Yeah.
The problems are the same across the whole, whether it's an individual location or a multiple location network, the same set of problems. Okay, what's the system of record that understands it? So we're really pushing into that side of things. And then on top of which, we've had a lot of fun putting, I know this sounds trite, but like looking at how AI can support that. And that's very precise ways that are verifiable, because the biggest problem with AI remains, is it something that can be duplicative and repetitive and accurate? right? If it's not accurate, I can't use it. If it can't repeat itself and do it 1,000 times, I can't use it. So that's where we're spending a ton of energy too.
Yeah, no, good points to bring up. Yeah. And on kind of like the tech trends you mentioned, like shifting, your tech trends report came out end of last year. Can you speak a bit more about that and kind of what led you to the conclusions or the insights you've kind of seen from that? What kind of brought that about and what are you seeing as the kind of next step in waste tech?
Well, the way they run that is pretty interesting. Whitney on our team runs it, and we like some of us take it, but there's hundreds of other inputs that come in, and
Mm,
we're only a team of like 30 plus, right? So it's like
yeah.
it's not us driving the answers; it's the answers from outside. And what you find is that it's a continuation of the trend of last year. People are interested in AI, they're interested in technology, they're using it more, but they're not sure how to implement it exactly. And so, what I think, what's a good example of that? You're a little younger than I am, but I remember when cell phones came out. Okay,
Mm,
my dad had one in his car. You pick it up, it was corded. It was only on when the car was on. God forbid the car turned off while you're mid phone call. You know, but then I got a Nokia brick phone at one point, right?
oh yeah.
And at one point I had a Razor phone. Then I got a BlackBerry, and then I got an iPhone. And it's never going to go away now. And anybody who thinks they're late on it at this point is making an excuse. It's still so early, and the adoption. If you even understand the difference between Claude Code and Claude and ChatGTP and other things like that, you are way ahead of the curve, right? So there's a 10-year window here where this is going to get adopted and implemented. And so you can start today and learn a lot in a 30-day window. So I don't think that some of the trepidation people have is well placed. I think it's more of an excuse sometimes, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But I think people can convince themselves like, oh, it's already passed me by. Like it just began. You
Yeah.
can get in. You can still get in there and learn.
Yeah, I
Partially,
think with
I have to get in there and learn too. You know.
yeah, no, the same here. I think with like waste, it's so like outdated, I guess, with data collection and so on, and like verifying weights of bins and everything. There's still opportunity to to get in the door essentially and improve the systems. I'm seeing more and more companies who are doing this in terms of helping businesses quantify their outputs, and yeah, that's what my kind of day to day is largely based around. It's getting better data and making sure higher ups see it. So I think we're
And how much easier is it to clean up that data now, right?
a lot. Yeah, definitely. The last kind of 2 to 3 years, I've definitely seen a big shift in like I guess processes in terms of it's cleaner coming like to me, and then I can divulge it and take it away and make it look pretty for my bosses to understand it. Because before that, it was even harder, like getting all these Excel spreadsheets or like different formats of PDFs. I'm having to kind of manually manipulate a lot more. But yeah, now it's a lot cleaner. I see things in great looking dashboards that I can play around with. So yeah, it's making my life easier, and it's great to see that kind of technological shift and people seeing opportunities to improve.
Yeah.
People like me who live in waste data all day, it's improving my day-to-day life. So I'm happy. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about your in-person event last year.
Oh
How
yeah.
did that?
Nexus, Waste Nexus. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that kind of come about, and how did it go down? And is there any plans to keep it going on an annual basis?
We're going to keep it going. We're supposed to be releasing the date in January here. I got to get with Whitney and confirm that we're going to release the date, but it's going to likely be in September. How did it come about? It came about because when I went to Waste Expo over a couple of years, which I really enjoyed the event, but as a small waste broker, it didn't have I didn't have quite a home there, right? If I did, I had a 10 by 10 square, right?
Hmm.
Over on the side over there near the bathrooms. And there's the big parties, there's the big wigs, but I wasn't part of that. And I looked at it and said, ultimately what I come to this for is to see the people that I interact with in some sort of telephone or email or LinkedIn type of experience. And I just want to talk to them, right? I don't need a fancy, crazy party or facility. I just need something relatively nice and an opportunity to chat. I might only need a half hour with them. And so I thought maybe we could host that because no one else seemed to be. And I trial ballooned it with a couple of people I knew, and they're like, we'd come, we'd be in. Okay. So then Whitney and I were talking about it for like a month or two. And finally, one Friday afternoon, I just went, boom, and sent it. And I was like, we're doing this. Here we go. She's like, what do you mean you announced it? Like, no, we announced it. We're doing it. Let's go. Figure it out. And I do that occasionally and drive her nuts. But I've found that sometimes you do just have to say we're doing this and figure out the path along the way sometimes, because otherwise, if you're trying to get it perfectly figured out, you never launch it, right? Yeah. And did we miss on some little things? Sure. Yeah. Right. Like I think we needed spoons or something at something that we forgot we needed spoons. Like it was okay. Whoops. But then when we look at this year, we kept notes the whole time. We look at this year and go, okay, we're going to stick with a similar theme because people like that element of like not a lot of fluff, a lot of one-on-one time, interesting people from across the spectrum. Because we had, financial people there, we had waste haulers there, we had brokers there, we had equipment guys there, and we had a mixture of people that were there. And we don't come in, with a pitch, right? You know who I am, you know what we're doing. You have questions, ask, fine. Like I'm not there to twist people's arm behind their back and go, you better buy something. Like that's not the point, right? Yeah. The point is, this is an industry that thrives on an element of relationships. And when you're crisscrossing a 200,000 square foot trade show, trying to use some app to find the person, it's, I don't know, doesn't seem to work for me. It doesn't seem to work well for everybody. Maybe there's an alternative or additional way to do it. That was how he came about to it.
Yeah, it's a great concept. I think, I've been to a similar show that you mentioned, and it's kind of a lot of small talk, let's say, and there's not much action from it. So it's great to hear that you had that kind of like smaller gathering that led to, more connection, and then I guess any kind of thing you can point to that happened after, anyone that connected there that led to a big outcome you can
reference? What was funny, when we launched our podcast this year, and the day that the podcast dropped, the first episode guest, I happened to be in the same city as that guest that day. And I was like, can I come by and see you? Because like, this is too weird. We got to just say hi to each other for 10 minutes. So that we ended up having lunch, but that was pretty nice. But admittedly, I haven't traced all the connections to see where those went. I know that people have been talking after the fact, but I was going to wait until we announced this year's thing as part of that to ask people, okay, what did you get from last year, right? So I don't know that answer quite yet.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
because business takes time to develop, right? No one goes to anything and closes it much anymore.
Oh, I have to keep an eye out for the dates this year, and as long as you have spoons, I'll be there maybe. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. My next question, you mentioned it before, was the podcast. So you've launched your own podcast. Kind of what's the kind of theme of it? Have you got more guests lined up? And yeah, what's your kind of plans for it?
The theme is just similar to, this sounds insane, but it's similar to my LinkedIn profile. Like this is something we find interesting to talk about. Let's talk about it, right? And the concept was to have, my drive to work is 18 minutes. And I said, okay, we got to be under 20 minutes as a podcast, right? May we throw in some longer ones from time to time? Possibly, right? But let's have a place where some conversations can happen that are interesting enough, hopefully, and relevant to what's going on, and then go from there. That was the basic concept. As a, where it's going to go, I don't know. We're going to see if anybody listens. Part of it, interesting thing, you're doing yours. Do you take yours and cut little clips out of it to reuse elsewhere?
We haven't done that yet, but it's on our list of things because pretty much it's just myself working a job and then doing this in my
Yeah, there's probably
free
some
time.
software that can do it for you.
Probably
But
it's, I got to look into that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but that's part of what we do with ours is anything we produce as content, you have the big bucket and then you can take slices of it and repurpose that in certain ways because there's a lot of the population that will only consume 30-second clips,
yeah,
right? That's what people have time for, whatever the app is, fine, okay. And then there's a meaningful part of the population that goes, I'm listening to the whole thing on my drive to work one day. Okay, great. So you
mm,
want to cover the two ends of that spectrum. And then the interesting thing I think that I wanted to highlight, do you ever read an email and you read tone into it that maybe wasn't there,
all the
right? You're like,
time.
why is this
Yeah,
guy so mad at me, right?
all the time. Yeah, yeah.
But if you've heard me speak and you understand how I interact,
Mm,
and if I write in a way, so this is an honest portrayal of me, and I write in a way that is an honest portrayal of me, when you read my email in the tone, you should read it in the tone that I'm using when you hear me speak here. So it is a method to accelerate people's comfort level and familiarity with you because ultimately I'm in a selling type of role,
yeah.
introducing people to our brand and introducing people to our products. And so when they see an email from me or a post or something, I would want them to hear my voice as they read it
Mm,
and, perceive a little bit of the chuckle that maybe is intended or,
yeah.
perceive like, okay, he's serious about this, but at the same time, like, he's not aiming to poke you in the eyeball. He's aiming to be like, well, why is that way? It's quizzical, right? It's like that sort of humanizing text comes from having video and audio out there. That's a
Yeah.
long answer, but that's part of why.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, I think I'm thinking of that. I think it's a Key and Peele sketch where they're kind of texting back and forth, and it's lost in translation. I think it's a funny sketch. I've seen that one.
Did you ever go back and watch you ever see Zoom's uh, original, like what made them big ad they did?
I don't think I've seen that. No.
So I'll just briefly describe it. It's the guy sitting at the head of the table of like conference room, and the guy sitting to his right, and it's they're in real life, but it's supposed to be a Zoom meeting, and he's like, "Hey, John, 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 John," and John's sitting there typing, and John looks up and goes, "Oh, I had my audio off. Sorry, what's up?" But then when he speaks, you hear him. No, when he speaks, you can't hear him because his audio's off, right? And so then the guy goes, "John, your audio's off," right? So like, there's an element of these things that is humorous that carries a lot of weight over the long
Yeah.
haul because everybody's bored to tears of factual information.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like tone is important and kind of like tongue in cheek. Like for me being English, like my humor can be missed sometimes in the emails. So I think, yeah, the voice aspect to that and the kind of like the person
Being
behind the
English is
email.
absolutely a cheat code, though. You should always do audio.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely yeah, helps my case when I'm yeah, talking with like well, yeah, clients or higher ups. I think my accent can get some more engagement from them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So there's like a
successful.
joke that English can tell you that the house is burning down. People are like, that's fascinating. I'm really
Yeah,
like why? Because there's an English accent. Yeah, it sounds really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is has helped me in the past, let's say that. Yeah, kind of closing off then. So I wanted to just ask about your kind of final message here. It's people that, aren't sure on new tech and embracing new tech and waste, especially like what would you say to them to kind of, dive in and embrace things that you're offering at DSQ?
Um, I would actually uh, tell them that a lot of stuff that you think sounds too good to be true might be. And what you have to be diligent about is understanding what you're trying to get out of something and then have some sort of way to test it before you deploy it. Right. So, like, as an example, I think I saw you post the other week about something about, where do recycling bins go? Maybe I'm mixing things up, but there's this eternal debate of if you're building a trash room, do you put the recycling bin first or do you put the trash bin first,
Mm.
right? And I'm on trash bin first side for the reason that I think humans are lazy, and I want the lazy guy to put his stuff in the trash, and I want the person who's willing to take the extra 2 steps to go walk over to the recycling bin and not contaminate the whole recycling load, right? And so, but that is a circumstance where you can say, okay, well, let's test that. If someone has some technology or something, what's in our bins now? Okay, well, take a week and look in your bins for a week and just look at it, see what's there, right? So like that sort of mentality, whether it's technology or operational changes or anything, just be willing to be mildly skeptical, positively skeptical, but mildly skeptical, going, okay, what do we have now and what are we going to get? What are we trying to do? Like, because I think too many people either write things off too easily or they dive in with, half-baked ideas of outcomes and they get frustrated in the end. So my point is be reasonably skeptical, but with a positive outlook.
Yeah, that's a good line to end on, I think. Yeah. Then finally, where can people learn more about DSQ?
I would actually encourage them to use AI because I think that allows you to ask the question that you mean to ask and have an exchange. And then it might lead you to a web page eventually, but the way that the world's working, people are able to ask a question that is computed, translated by the AI, and then spit back. And that's, to me, actually better maybe than reading the web page.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Oh.
I could be wrong, but that's how I'm perceiving. I'm doing that a lot myself. So that's what I'm perceiving as. I don't need you to come to my webpage until you're ready.
Mm.
So I'm not even going to bother saying what the webpage is. Like, go ask AI. Go say AI. Tell me about DSQ technology. Go ahead. See what it comes up with. I'd be interested.
Just on that, I wonder, like, does AI rank companies? So, like, say, like, I like type in after this podcast, I want to learn about waste technology. Will it rank companies like yourself in terms of like showing up the names of companies? Do you know about that?
So AI is very interesting. It has been trained on the corpus of the internet. We don't use it too much in the sense of our writing and our content because the corpus of the internet that it's trained on is super negative on certain elements that we are not negative. So like an example, if you ask AI, tell me about waste, and it'll come up with some portion of that being grumpy about waste haulers because people complain about their waste hauler on Reddit or something. Okay. That's not helpful. And so if you were going to be asking AI about waste, you need to be a little bit more precise than just tell me about waste, right? So that's why I'm saying people with their question could say, hey, I have a 45-story tower. We have this, right? They have some question in their mind that they need to verbalize into it. That is a much more interesting thing than what I think a web page necessarily answers for them, right?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so that's where I see it, because otherwise you're going to get the average answer in the sense of like, well, you really should recycle more and talk to your waste hauler or talk to your borough. And you're like, okay, that's too general of a question.
So you want AI for people that kind of have specific questions that your products can solve the answers for. You want AI to direct them to you when they're wanting to solve those problems. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, right. So like, as an example, if someone said, I'm trying to manage a compactor that I think could weigh more, that I could do better with, something like that, we might show up in those answers, right? If someone says, hey, I need to understand the difference between this kind of plastic and that kind of plastic, I won't show up in those answers. That's not where that's not where our technology is best, right? That's why I think AI as a place to go search is pretty interesting, because it's a natural funnel for people who are already having a pain point that I solve, that I don't then have to educate them as much when they get to our webpage.
Yeah, no, great points. It's food for thought for sure. I think the future of waste, as we've discussed, is definitely here. So it's great to kind of hear your input, Ryan.
The future is always coming, right? I mean,
Yeah,
stuff keeps changing.
There's a lot of fun things happening in the industry that are, yeah, like tech focused. I'm excited by it. I'm, yeah, putting tech in place every day right now, it seems like at
Ultimately,
properties.
it's
So
still people business, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Well,
as
no,
far as I
thanks for
know,
your
you're a
time.
real human. You know, I'm a real human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for your time, Brian. It's great to chat and lots
Yeah.
of great insights to take away from this. And
See you at Waste Nexus in September.
yeah, I'll definitely add it to my calendar. And yeah, we'll, yeah, hopefully, yeah, meet in
I'll
person at that point. Yeah.